Since the release of the first mass-produced car, the automotive world has evolved, perhaps every decade. Cars of each era are similar to each other in some way, have a common style and similarities. For example, cars of the 30-40s are characterized by puffy rounded shapes, and cars of the 60-70s immediately stand out with sharp angles, straight lines, and square shapes. But in every era of auto production, there was a manufacturer that produced something strange, unlike anything else. In this video, we will look at the strangest cars ever produced. Some of them even went into mass production, while others remained at the concept stage. The BMW Isetta 300 opens our list of strange cars. BMW began production of the Isetta 300 in the mid-1950s. In those distant times, car travel was not as well developed as it is today, and therefore the demand for large, roomy cars was also not great. That is why the BMW company bet on a compact city car and was not mistaken. The Isetta was fundamentally different from what BMW was doing at the time, but despite this tiny car became the best-selling single-cylinder car in the world. A total of 162,000 cars were sold, and production lasted until 1962. The BMW Isetta resembled an egg in shape and immediately received the nickname Bubble Car. The technical characteristics were outstanding for such a baby. The Isetta traveled 100 kilometers on 3.5 liters of gasoline and was equipped with a 4-speed gearbox. The car had a top speed of 85 kilometers per hour and was equipped with a 12-liter fuel tank. The dimensions of this tiny car barely exceeded 2 meters in length and 1 meter in height. The micro BMW even had a sunroof and wing-shaped windows. To get passengers into the car, a folding front section was used instead of conventional doors. The price of this car was about $1,300, but today collectors are ready to pay from $15,000 for the Isetta, depending on the condition of the example. BMW can boast many technologically powerful cars today, but they all got the right to life thanks to the BMW Isetta 300, as this small car saved BMW from bankruptcy, which the company was close to in the mid-1950s. Motorcycle production was declining. Luxury cars were so expensive to produce that BMW was losing money on these models. BMW needed a new model, one that would not require large development costs. And BMW found its solution at the Turin Motor Show in 1954. ISO Rivolta, an Italian manufacturer of refrigerators and mini cars, presented a 3-wheeled car with a huge door on the stand. The BMW delegation acquired the licensing rights to the Isetta, as well as the production equipment. With 10,000 cars sold in the first year, the Isetta was in every corner of Germany and then in other countries. Messerschmitt KR175. After World War II, Germany was banned from making airplanes for a long time. The Messerschmitt company had to switch to something else, namely, the production of cars. In 1953, the first car of the concern saw the light of day, the KR175, which the Germans themselves called a scooter with a cabin. The 3-wheeled car had a steering wheel, more like a similar one from a bicycle or motorcycle, and 2 seats, one behind the other. The model was popular, which prompted the company to work further in this direction. In 1955, the KR175 was replaced by a new model, the KR200. Despite the fact that it used the same power frame as the KR175, the body parts were redesigned. In particular, the wheel arches in the front fenders and the roof design was improved. In general, the design of the KR200 was completely redesigned. The rear suspension and engine mounts were modified. All 3 wheels received hydraulic shock absorbers. And the size of the wheels was increased. The company's aviation past played an important role in the design of the car. So, in addition to the 2-mode ignition, the KR200 had a steering wheel reminiscent of an airplane yoke. In order to control the KR200, the driver could deflect the control handle relative to its horizontal axis. The mechanism was attached directly to the steering rods of the front wheels and had a high sensitivity to small movements. Despite the non-standard appearance and too compact size, 12,000 cars were sold in the first year at a price of 2,500 marks, which was considered a quick and great success. Despite the declared power of only 10 horsepower, The maximum speed exceeded as much as 90 km/h, which was a consequence of the lightweight and low aerodynamic drag. In 1956, Messerschmitt received permission to resume aircraft production and lost interest in cars. Today, in Europe and the USA, there are car clubs that still value these cars primarily for their originality, and some collectors are willing to pay more than €20,000 for a copy in good condition. The PLP50 is a British single-door, single-seater car. It is the only car produced on the Isle of Man. Its production began in 1963 and lasted only 2 years. It is a three-wheeled car or even a motorized carriage. The car could accommodate one adult, had only one door on the left and had one headlight. Currently, it holds the record for the smallest production car in the world. The car was equipped with a handle at the back, which allowed it to be manually turned around or pulled into a room. The weight of this tiny car is only 59 kilograms. The car was equipped with a 49 cubic centimeters motorcycle 2-stroke engine with a power of 4 horsepower and has a maximum speed of 61 km/h, but the speed depends on the weight and height of the driver. The engine was located at the front on the right and worked in tandem with a 3-speed manual gearbox that did not have a reverse gear. The basic version of the PLP50, in addition to one headlight, included a windshield wiper. And fuel consumption was 2.8 liters/100 kilometers. This car rightfully takes its place in the top of the strangest cars. Only 47 copies were produced. Currently, each surviving example costs more than $100,000. The PLP50 was developed by the Peel Engineering Company, which was located on the Isle of Man. It was founded by Keel Martin and George Gaylor, who sought to create a compact and affordable vehicle for movement in an urban environment. Initially, the company specialized in the production of motorcycles, so the final creation is a hybrid between a tiny car and a motorcycle with a roof. The main material used in the production of the body was fiberglass, which helped to reduce the overall weight of the car. It is equipped with a small steering wheel, instrument panel, and several control levers. However, despite its compactness, the car is quite functional. There is enough space inside the car for one fairly large driver, and the small space behind the seat can be used to transport small items or purchases. Due to its exclusivity and rarity, existing PLP50 copies are now in museums or owned by private collectors. Their limited number and historical value make them highly sought after by car enthusiasts. In some cases, PLP50s are auctioned off, and it is safe to say that the price of the car will only increase over time. Bong Bug 700E. This is a small British 2-seater 3-wheeled sports car, produced from 1970 to 1974. This car went into serial production and more than 2,000 copies were produced. The peculiarity of the car is the presence of, instead of the usual doors, the door opening upwards. Bong Bug had very little power, although it was quite enough for this car to be considered a sports car. The 700 cubic centimeter engine produced 31 horsepower and allowed it to accelerate to 125 km/h. Mostly these cars were orange, but several models were released in white especially for commercials of the tobacco company Rothmans, and a similar car was also seen in the Robbie Williams video for the song Millennium. In 1970, the company believed that 3-wheeled cars would conquer the market and change the format of personal transport. These plans were not destined to come true due to its size, which made driving on public roads both exciting and frightening, and its rather peculiar handling. In addition, the Bong Bug cost £629, £9 more than the Mini 850, which is almost a fully fledged car. Twike is a 3-wheeled velomobile invented by Swiss students back in 1986, which through a series of prototypes by 1995 turned into a serial hybrid. Unlike the previous 3-wheeled representatives of today's top, this car has an electric motor that allows you to travel 150 kilometers on one battery charge at a maximum speed of 85 km/h. But this distance can be increased thanks to the strength of the driver. The electric car is equipped with an additional pedal drive, Thanks to the presence of pedals and the low weight of the electric velomobile, you can dramatically increase the range due to the muscular strength of the driver and passenger, which will reduce the energy consumption of the batteries. This velomobile has an aluminum alloy frame covered with fiberglass panels and can accommodate 2 passengers. Unlike the previous cars, this is a modern vehicle that can be freely purchased. In essence, Twike is a full-fledged city electric car, the pedals of which act as controls and allow you to do fitness during the trip. There are several programs with different loads. That is, you can pedal right at high speed. Mohs Ostentatienne Opera Sedan. This is the company of one ambitious American entrepreneur and inventor, Bruce Baldwin Mohs, who built only 4 cars and sold only 2 of them, but this did not prevent it from gaining worldwide fame, and these cars are now exhibited in museums and exhibitions. The history of the first car began with the fact that the owner of the company, Bruce Mohs, who modified light aircraft for private aviation, decided to occupy a certain niche in the automotive industry. No sooner said than done. Then in 1967 the first Mohs car was born, Ostentatienne Opera Sedan. This car had only one door at the back, and it included a significant part of the roof. This allowed you to get to the seats without bending over. The purpose of this layout was the absolute rigidity of the car body and minimization of damage in an accident. The tires were inflated with nitrogen, and their thickness and strength allowed them to go at least 100,000 kilometers without a single problem. At least that's what Mohs promised. The Ostentatienne Opera Sedan had a chassis and engine borrowed from the International Harvester SUV. An unusual body was installed on a strong frame. Its proportions were, to put it mildly, absurd, strange, but undoubtedly attracting everyone's attention. But the interior decoration was more reminiscent of a palace than a car. Persian carpets, natural valuable wood species, parquet flooring, and crystal lamps. The dashboard had many gold and gilded elements, and was also inlaid with precious stones. The price of the car started at $20,000, which was a very large sum for 1967, but later it was raised to $25,000. The second model of the company was also a 4-wheel drive safari car. Produced from 1972 to 1979, this car was no less extravagant and was a convertible with sliding side doors. The car was intended for lovers of travel and hunting. The trim, as in the first car, was incredibly luxurious. Carpets, leather, and a TV were included in the basic package. The eccentric inventor, as in the case of the first car, decided to go his own way and make an SUV unlike the others. The aluminum body panels of the car were covered with a thick layer of foam, covered with black leatherette. According to Mohs's idea, such a body muffled the sounds of a powerful 6-liter engine, allowing you to get closer to the object of hunting. Safari car, as conceived by the inventor, turned out to be unique and unrepeatable, although it looked unusual and even ridiculous. The huge chrome grille in the style of a Rolls-Royce did not match the hunting purpose of the car. But the car had a huge trunk where a hard folding roof was placed. The external mount of the spare wheel still hinted at its off-road capabilities. But perhaps the most unusual thing in the design of this car was the special fastening of the doors on retractable telescopic guides. Moreover, the design of the doors opened with the help of an electric drive and not muscle power. In the rear of the car there was a fold-out sofa with a gun box and rests for rifles. Today this car travels to various exhibitions. Well, that's all for today. Thank you all for watching. If it was interesting, support the video with likes. Thank you for subscribing, and take a look at what else we have prepared for you.